Alex Answer here. It is November 15th in the year 2018. Good morning. We'll be doing a live stream for at least 10 minutes, maybe up to a half hour. We'll take a look at some of the few headlines that are in the news. This is one right now that I'm looking at. In 1 year, MSNBC covered Stormy Daniels 455 in Yemen 0 times. And so we're going to talk about this. We're going to do our Middle East war coverage in brief, but this is really a highlight into the same mainstream media that's acting like it is, for example, right here, this is from Anti-Media, the antimedia.com. Why is the number one outlet of alleged anti-Trump hashtag resistance completely ignoring his most devastating war? As noted before, to MSNBC, the carnage and destruction the United States and the Gulf monarchy allies are leveling against the poorest country in the Arab world is simply a non-issue. On July 2nd, a year had passed since the cable network's last segment mentioning U.S. participation in the war on Yemen, which has killed in excess of 15,000 people and resulted in over 1 million cases of cholera. The U.S. is backing a Saudi-led bombing campaign with intelligence fueling political cover, military hardware, and as of March, ground troops. Now, none of this matters at all to what Adweek calls the network of the resistance, which has, since its last mention of the U.S.'s role in the destruction of Yemen, found time to run over a dozen segments highlighting war crimes committed by the Syrian and Russian governments in Syria. By way of contrast, as MSNBC was marking a year without mentioning the U.S. role in Yemen, the PB civilians destroying infrastructure and fueling anger at the U.S. They have a video here that they have embedded. According to NewsHour, quote, the aerial bombing campaign dislodged the rebels, but has hit weddings, hospitals, and homes. The U.S. military supports the Saudi coalition with logistics and intelligence. The United States, it also sells the Saudis and coalition partners many of the bombs that they drop on Yemen. MSNBC chat show Starbucks commercial Morning Joe did run one segment that vaguely mentioned the war on Yemen, but failed to note the role of the United States, much less that Washington is arming and backing the conflict's primary aggressor. For a bit more context, in the time period between July 2017 and July 2018, MSNBC dedicated 0 segments to the U.S. war in Yemen, but 455 segments to Stormy Daniels. Another thing that occurred to me with regards to Stormy Daniels is that there is this constant bombardment with distractions that people think are genuine disputes, when in fact it can be an absolute manufactured scandal to almost cause like a level of interest maybe within the population to Google Stormy Daniels and maybe check out her work. Just the constant bombardment I just noticed this year. You know, Stormy Daniels, porno, Trump, Stormy Daniels. And I'm just like, what? Like, what is this meaning? This is like stuff that also builds up the popularity of Trump. Like, go Trump, grab that porn stars. And it works different ways. For some people, it'll help people go, yeah, rah, rah, rah. And other people, they'll be like, you know, damn you, Trump. You got with Stormy Daniels. Oh my God, this is the issue. This is the issue. This is, and so, okay, so I'm taking this from a deeper angle. I don't know if anti-media is going to go there, but it's the idea that the politicians and the media work together to create false narratives. So it seems like the media's attacking Trump, But here, this network called MSNBC, which has been coined hashtag the resistance, cannot call out Trump on Yemen. MSNBC does not call out Trump on Yemen. But what do? They bring out Stormy Daniels. Oh, this is the display of the resistance. And then I talked about CNN and how what a farce of a conflict that is between Donald Trump and Jim Acosta. All one has to do is just use some intuition. Does this appear real? Oh, really? It does? Does this appear like the behavior of the resistance to Trump, if there ever was one? And so to quantify my statements that there is no actual resistance to Trump on the mainstream media level, it's counterfeit. That's how duped the masses are from the left to the right, where they drink the Trump Kool-Aid, or whether they used to drink the Obama Kool-Aid, or where they went from one Kool-Aid to the other. So 455 segments to Stormy Daniel. We'll take a pause right there. Osaka. Would that be Japan? Thank you for being here. Thank you for the thumb up. We have 5 viewers at the moment. So there's some other stories that I could cover as well. I'm just going to go ahead and finish off this one. So yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. I, for one, resisted the urge to Google Stormy Daniels. But without a doubt, there's a lot of people that probably did. And just the increase also in advertising regarding Stormy Daniels. Click over here, check out Stormy Daniels over here. And just the media constantly running all this advertising. I also did a reading of Eckhart Tolle. And this is something that someone that's programmed could look at and think that it's like the books in the 80s promising some sort of spacecraft to save us and take us to the new Earth. Apparently, it's more metaphoric than literal, which pulls me in because it deals with the inner responsibility to create that type of consciousness in our world by living that and not expecting the world to catch up. And he's basically acknowledging that the world is in a fallen state to a certain degree, not using the same language, but in his own language. Going to read a few things from like the last few pages. Is the notion of a new Earth not just another utopian vision? Not at all. All utopian visions have this in common. The mental projection of a future time when all will be well. We will be saved, and there will be peace and harmony and the end of our problems. There have been many such utopian visions. Some ended in disappointment, others in disaster. At the core of all utopian visions lies one of the main structural dysfunctions of the old consciousness, looking to the future for salvation, because often we're always running away from the now. The only existence the future actually has is as a thought form in your mind. So when you look to the future for salvation, you are unconsciously looking to your own mind for salvation. You are trapped in form, and that is ego. So I'm going to stop right there. There's an hour and a half of me going through this book. Check it out. It was uploaded right before this went live. So some people may skip that video and go right for the live video. The way YouTube works is really strange, where most of the people that may respond to a video, it's like shortly after upload. But the videos aren't necessarily created now by me to be necessarily in line with the news wire. It's more of a focus on information that's timeless, that goes beyond where we are right now in this point in time. There's things to reference that are here in the now, like we just did. And it tells us something about the fallen world, where priorities are, and it quantifies the statement the mainstream media isn't truly anti-Trump in a genuine sense. meaning whether someone supports Trump or doesn't support Trump, if they're buying that those are the opponents of Trump, then they've co-opted any actual resistance. They co-opted. Others that are a fan of Trump see what they're saying and they're just acting like it's blasphemy, like, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that. And you guys are so trying to get rid of our president. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not without the help of Donald Trump helping them along the way. Not without the help of Donald Trump helping them along the way with sound bites here and there that no one, in my opinion, their rational mind would actually do. So it's really a metaphor. It's not so much about Trump, and it's not certainly about arguing with his supporters. It's about going, snapshot, this is our world before the collapse. This is what people were preoccupied with. Instead of looking at what's really going on and the illusions of separation dividing us in a way that is unnatural. People can go ahead and say that it's natural and it's tribal all they want. It's unnatural. It's unnatural for us to be bombarded with technology that's trying to divide us. It is unnatural. There's good things that can come about from the internet, from some of these media sources. But you know what? 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and even some people thought the past was more racist. In fact, if you lived during my dad's generation and experience, there was way more openness that he experienced in the 1970s and 1980s, more so than his son that has never left the United States would experience. That is the real world in which you live in, Neo. It is not the reverse polarity. It was, he experienced the good times in our nation's 1970s and 80s. And that's a fact, Jack. Hell, he was dating all over the place. He was all over the world doing world travel at one point. He got to experience the cherries and the apples and the grapes going through his adulthood of the pre-9/11 world. And Dad, if you're out there, don't you ever forget that jewel that you got to experience. Living in this nation before the 9/11 event, before the 9/11 era, and not being really any different, and having all of your American Portland friends in your 1970s and 80s, and just being another one of the guys. Of course, you had your own problems and your problems with me. But see, I have compassion for your experience. But often, and in truth, I know you have none for mine. We will move on, though. We will move on. We are no longer in the pre-9/11 world, for those of you that do not know. And the things that have been manufactured within media and within these things that have done a great deal to divide communities and to alienate people that would be a greater asset to your world. And it's not getting better. It's getting worse. Check out the links down below if you would like to support this channel. TheAntimedia.com continues. In any event, it's not like any Yemenis are going to pull ads, turn down appearances, or phone Comcast, higher ups complaining. So who cares? To be poor and brown, to say nothing of not serving the immediate partisan interests of the Democratic Party, is evidently to not matter much in the eyes of MSNBC producers or on-air talent. I remember this woman that watched my show in Portland, older one, and I thought it was so strange that she would watch me, but also watch MSNBC. Just like years later, I would find it would be strange that people on the far right would be viewers of my YouTube channel, but also be consuming things that are on the extremist end, especially in recent years. But in the early days of Outside the Box TV, it was this mostly the Democrats, because I was on air in Portland on cable access. And if I'm speaking out against the 9/11 cover-up and involvement with both the Democrats and the Republicans, Why would some people, while being exposed to that truth and claiming that they're anti-war and claiming that they really care, especially some of the old hippie types that were like, oh, we just can't believe what's happened. Oh, like under Bush. Yeah, until Ed Schultz comes on MSNBC, they're like, ah, it's like, like the 2 minutes of hate with 1984, and then that moment of, big brother, big brother, big brother, big brother, big brother, big brother, big brother. You're a thought criminal. You're right wing. You're not progressive. I heard it all from them before I later had to deal with the right. It's been a wild ride, and the story must be told. Can't all be told now, but in this flashback to Jenica, I knew there was something deeply wrong with MSNBC. And there was something deeply hypnotic going on when it was playing the role of anti-Bush. But like, you look at these characters that are coming on and you look at these types of different hosts. And I guess Ed Schultz, it's the late Ed Schultz. So may he rest in peace. But there are certain people, right? Many people, journalists that are no longer on the planet, and others. But we're talking about journalists now that I've never trusted. So may he rest in peace. But I knew there was something wrong with Air America, MSNBC, way back in the Bush years. But to say that to people is to, I guess, like disrespect their God. And so whether someone's like on the left or the right, if they're invested in corporate left or right talking memes, anything that goes against that will be considered crazy fringe. And I don't see any sign of that changing. Obama supporters have never come to me that were former viewers and said, Alex, we thought you had this anti-Black agenda. We were wrong. He was a part of the system. Do you think that people on the right are going to wake up to their senses that have thrown me under the bus or treated me with disrespect because I haven't got on board the agenda? Well, if we're not seeing it from the left, why would we see it from the people on the right? I remember asking myself the question, what's worse, the judgment from the Obama supporters or the Trump supporters? Well, depends on the emotional charge, being that Portland is the city in which I was born. And if I felt more welcomed in that type of environment, if it truly was about free thought and respecting diverse people and ways of thought, I would still be there. There would be a place for me in that Babylonian place. But it wasn't meant to be. But it's also important that I shatter the image that these groups represent the resistance. There is no genuine resistance to Trump. People standing in the streets, marching in the streets, and jumping up on cars, they're creating public disorder and a disturbance. There's histories of massive protests that have nothing to do in the end with impeaching anyone, but domestic civil unrest. I'm not a fan of Bush. But in 2003, before I started Outside the Box TV, I heard about the big protest in downtown Portland, Oregon. And not to join it, but to watch it, because in my adulthood, I had never seen, that type of, okay, here is this big event. A major war just started. A country's been attacked by the United States, and all these people are mobilized. They were mobilized, and they shut down the Burnside Bridge. This was not the first time that shutting down the roads took place. And I was walking down the street with Gunner, and I hear fascist, fascist, and they're like yelling at me and Gunner, like we're fascists. And that was during the time in which people will often find a label for me. But for a lot of people when I was younger, because I didn't look like super goth, and because I have unique physical features, there'd be jokes, hey, do you wear makeup? Often as a little kid, but as an adult, pokes at me saying I always look like a cop or probably would be a cop. And there would be variants of this later on in life, but just some sort of a label to say, we distrust you. And we're going to put this label on why we distrust you. So just simply, I learned growing up in Portland, not looking super raggedy, but having maybe a press shirt. And I didn't see something super egotistical about wearing a press shirt or a button down shirt that cost $5 from the Goodwill. I was never able to make that connection. I also wear a blazer. when I did OTB TV, but that was just a blazer. That's not a suit. You can have jeans on underneath. So it'd constantly sometimes be called a suit. You're a suit, or you're a personality, or you're a corporate CEO yes man. Just because of someone trying to find something to throw their gunk. Whereas I didn't really see Portlanders doing anything on the intellectual level to wake anyone up. It's a hotbed of angry people that live in a really energetically polluted part of the planet. It was a big mistake to even go back there the last time. Some people still hear my words from that region, but very few people leave. And it's because there's an energetic hold over them. If people do end up leaving, it's usually by force from economics or some other relocation. Sometimes it's something as serious as a breakup. I know that both my parents left Portland long before I did. So there's a legacy of even the people that brought me into the planet somehow. So there's like almost a deeper soul journey story between myself, that region. It includes my parents. And so it has a lot of this charge and memory for me of the death of the farm, which is the earlier story regarding Aurora, Oregon, when the grandparents divorced. That's the death of the farm chapter, 1993. The exodus from the farm, the entry into the city, and then the next level of the breakup. And living with my dad briefly, going a few years and experiencing that dark reality. Living on my own for a few years within Portland, Oregon, and then boom, the 9/11 event. So by 9/11, I already knew what it was like to be on my own and to have no one in my corner and to be in a lot of pain. By the time the 9/11 event, that was then thrown right on top of everything that was pre-existing and wrong within. And as things progressed, though, it felt like the energies of the universe and cosmos were in my favor with regards to starting the show, doing what I did for a number of years, and then realizing it while also saying on the air, I have a strong feeling that this too shall pass. Now, there'll be a time in which I'll be there and I'll be playing that role, and then another time in which I will be gone, and I will be gone forever. And I think I got out in time. No one knows the day or the hour or the time. Certain places, though, seem to have a lot of negative energy, and that's one of them. But bringing it back to the nation state, the nation state that we're in is a state of collapse by design, and it has its own date with destiny or karmic return. We can have our own date with destiny or karmic return, and so can the country. These are energy constructs. It can be described as a hand of protection over the nation or around a person. And certain deeds and actions can strengthen that, and other things can eradicate it totally. It's like a field, kind of like the earth as a magnetic field around the planet. Without a magnetic field around the Earth's planet, we would be bombarded with cosmic rays. Cancer was spread throughout the human species. Miscarriages would go up. I mean, this is in the history of the rise and fall of civilizations and population numbers. And we're going through it again. We are in a slow collapse of civilization. But on a spiritual level, there certainly is a big time distraction to take people away from looking at why these things are taking place. Is this necessary? Let's talk about this real quick. Price tag of the war on terror will top $6 trillion. So just understand the insanity of this. The people that claim that they wanted Trump to end the wars claimed. Here we are now. We're over here now. Syria's been attacked several times. We see things that were acting like they were going to move towards WW3 with North Korea with all-time high violent rhetoric. And then, oh my, they're friends now. Oh, they're homies now. Now we can just relax. Or does North Korea have the time that it needs to develop those actual nukes. But then the Orwellian strawman arguments come out from the programmed right and the AMTVs of the world. Oh, the left wants violence. That's 2 boxes right there, not one. To put anyone that's criticizing this and questioning whether this is staged, all of a sudden that makes someone a leftist. Whereas in the past, that was just straight up old school conspiracy theorists, yo. But no, if you don't drink the modern dark side of the conspiracy theory and you're an old school conspiracy theorist, you'll still be called a leftist anyways. Most of you speak English. And whether you're from the left or the right, you know exactly what I'm saying and whether or not you've been guilty of this fallen world consciousness, whether or not you've done it to others and or keep doing it to others, and or whether or not you've stopped doing to others, but your ego is so sensitive, you will not go back to those people that you called leftists and go, sorry. Damn, we really have been divided. Sorry, bro. No one does that. No one does that. Now, does that sound like a society? Oh, we're going to come back to the truth. Does that sound like a society that's ready to survive the challenges ahead? Does that sound like a society that's evolving, that it's learning from its problems, from its mistakes? Does that sound like a society that's cognitive of cause and effect? Cause, as they say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. So, hey, let's just celebrate the return of the king. And when he talks about, well, they went in and they didn't get the oil. If I was in office, we're gonna take the riches home. We're gonna take the riches home. And it's like, here we are in 2018, moving into 2019, and things are going to get crazier after whatever happens with this 2020 election. And usually in the second term, a president can get away with things that maybe they were waiting to do in the first term, for example. And all the while, the masses could be whipped up into a frenzy that the bankers are going to be arrested. Or back in the day that George Bush and Dick Cheney were going to be indicted and arrested somewhere in Virginia. It was like absolute fake news. In 2007. And Democrats would eat that up. Democrats would eat up that content that was falsely saying that there were going to be arrests. And their mind was so filled with it. It was such a part of their reality. And it was there to pacify them during a period in which there was potential maybe for momentum. But see, that's why you have these controlled protests come. World can't wait. World waited. World can't wait. My ass. World can't wait. Worldwide protests. The world waited. The world went to sleep. The world got drunk. The world took some pills. Yeah, the world waited. Nice try. So we will see like literally these movements rise, but they have the stage managed divide of the left and the right. There are going to be different opinions on certain things, but the way they've got the left and the right divide still removes a lot of us from the table of being a part of the political debating circle because we are not associated with either side. And we are not a world that supports, that I've been able to experience, the independent voice. We suffer as a result. We roll without a gang. We roll without protection. We roll without being with an official news agency. And we take the risks for not running with a gang. What you have right now at the left and the right are gangs. They have safe areas and safe spots. If you are able to live amongst a left-based or a right-based society and become a part of their tribe, there is the benefits of protection. There are the benefits of significant others. Living in urban environments, there are the benefits of having fun and maybe having some bros, but it requires a certain level of conforming. You can also find people that are outside of left and the right, and they are absolutely wanting to make you their bitch in alpha male hierarchy mode. And what we need are more good men in this world that aren't so fucked up by this world, but they're a bull in the china shop, trying to run command and control over every other man that they come across. You need to keep that shit under wraps and act like you know what consciousness is. We need to see a rise of the men that don't have some of the behaviors that I've seen increase over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, specifically. I don't know what kind of stuff came out of that Fukushima that affected the average man or woman, or whether it was the BP oil spill or something there in 2012. Some sort of a weird gas come out of a volcano. These are weird freaking humans amongst us. I mean, there was a way deeper connection with my audience years ago. Like, there were actual friends. People actually cared. Now we're like in a different arena. It's like, hey, oh, hey, I love the live stream. Oh, I love the entertainment. All right, gotta go. That's like, no offense, but let's just be real with it. What happened to us? What happened to this society?